All very fun, all very exciting. What was exciting, Wildcard, about the Warriors' win over the Brisbane Broncos in Brisbane was that it sealed the Aotearoa double
Certainly did.
of the Warriors defeating Brisbane in Brisbane and Wellington Phoenix defeating Brisbane in Brisbane, but both games were at Redcliffe.
Yep, Moreton Daily Stadium, I believe it's called, whatever that means. Moreton Daily sounds like a newspaper, I guess. I don't know.
So it is a bit weird because the Phoenix then got thumped by Melbourne City, so that did switch the vibe up weirdly. But was that a home game for the Phoenix, or was that a home game for Brisbane Roar?
Well, that's where it gets extremely weird because it was a home game for the Warriors, wasn't it? But it was
Yes.
an away game for the Phoenix. The Phoenix were playing, it was Brisbane Roar's home game.
So we had the Warriors playing a home game at Moreton Daily Stadium in Redcliffe in the wider Brisbane area against Brisbane. We had the Wellington Phoenix playing an away game at Moreton Daily Stadium in Redcliffe and Brisbane against Brisbane Roar. Fantastic. Both teams enjoyed a win. It was beautiful. A beautiful moment there. And considering I'm eager to see how the Warriors return to Aotearoa. I think that's going to be quite interesting because big believer in Aotearoa Rugby League. I've got a great awareness of how rugby league in Aotearoa is like this. It's a boiling pot. It's a pot that is boiling, in a different way to say that. And it is simmering. It's boiling over the top. A lot of people are loving rugby league at all levels, like a lot of different sports around Aotearoa, simmering. They are frothing, they are fizzing, and they are ready for, I think we saw it with the Women's World Cup, like Kiwis are ready to see the highest level sport they can, all of which is to say, when the Aotearoa Warriors return to Mount Smart Stadium, it's going to be pretty epic, and it's going to be a tangible benefit. I did hear over the weekend, I heard some folks talking about the Penrith Panthers home field advantage. And then I heard Wade Graham speaking about the Sharks and how great it is for the Sharks to return to, I think it's PointsBet, like their redone stadium, and how it's like the heart and soul of the club. Like, okay, these people are just telling us the disadvantage that the Warriors have. Like, it's weird how that happens, but all of which is to say, Wildcard, at the fantastic Moreton Daily Stadium, bit of a Warriors buzz. And it's like, it's not quite Sunday afternoon, sun shining, midwinter, Mount Smart Stadium, good game of footy. It's not quite that, but it was decent. And there was a bit of Warriors buzz at Moreton Daily. So it did, I think the capitulation of the Broncos played into it, because you did see a lot of Broncos jerseys at Moreton Daily Stadium, but there was cheering and there was jeering from the crowd kind of in favor of the Warriors. And we know how Australian clubs love to cry foul of referees against the Warriors, as if the Warriors haven't, existed on the wrong end of refereeing decisions. But that's just part of the curse. You just tuck it away and flush the dunny, keep it moving, keep churning out the mahi. I'm interested in what you thought of the Broncos wildcard, because I thought the Broncos stunk, and I thought it was an interesting sporting case of a team that is, an apple can quickly go from being ripe and crispy and delicious to a bit soft. And that softness ruins your apple. So it's not even rotten. It's just a soft apple that you don't want to eat, but it's not rotten. It's not like, I'm in favor of Michael Maguire and his Aotearoa Kiwi standing, but at the moment, the Tigers are a rotten apple because they keep losing. Like, that's just what it is. The Broncos are more of a soft apple, where you're looking at them, they should be all good, but weird shit's happening. Like, icky, yucky team shit's happening. Everyone's angry. There's not much doing in their footy. I think Adam Whanua-Blake was the best player on the field, maybe. I think in my opinion, he outperformed Payne Haas. In my opinion, the Warriors were the better forward pack, and it was just a game built on a victory, like built on forward pack success. I don't think there was much else to the Warriors game other than basic Sean Johnson play. But if you win the battle of the forward pack in a matchup of two mediocre teams, probably going to win the game. But yeah, sorry. what do you think of the soft apple Broncos vibe there? Because it felt palpable through the TV screen, like just what they were doing was a bit strange, bit weird.
Yeah, we're talking about when the apple starts to taste a little bit fluffy, and it just doesn't have that same crunch, and it's not as nice. Yeah, I can, I didn't, I was going between the Warriors game and the Black Caps game, and probably spending more time with the Black Caps game. So I didn't see as much of the Warriors as I would have, or as I had in other weeks, but saw enough of it to see absolutely nothing of the Broncos. Like they didn't feel like a team that was suddenly going to spark a comeback, and it was a weird one. Every time I'm checking in, it just looks like the Warriors are comfortably, slightly nudging slightly further ahead. Just managing a game in a weird way. Sort of thing you don't expect of them. I will say on the Tigers, I don't know that we should rule out because obviously the Warriors are cursed. That's a clear, clear and obvious thing, as the as the referee might say, clear and obvious. Don't think we can rule out the idea that the Tigers are cursed either, because everything that's happened since they won that premiership with Benji Marshall way back in the day has kind of felt like you know what you get in movies where people like trade their soul for some immediate success kind of thing. It sort of has felt a little bit like that, where maybe they made a bargain with like the devil or something, and now the 15 years since have been payback, because they don't seem to like just that try they conceded to lose to the Titans on, was it Thursday night? It was like, I don't even know the Warriors, who are infamously cursed, could have lost a game quite in that fashion. They felt specific to the Tigers, which is not a great place to be. But I guess maybe you would prefer to have a championship in the bag and 15 years of curse after then the Warriors having 25 years of curses without ever winning a championship. Probably is preferable, to be fair. But I say that to say that I don't think that the Broncos are cursed. I don't think you can look at them and say that this is some kind of like unlucky period or anything like that. It feels more like, because to be honest, like, kind of get Manchester United vibes about them. About like the big club, commercially massive, has traditionally sort of dominated their area in particular, but maybe like fallen off the wagon a little bit in recent years, and doesn't actually really know how to rebuild things. And who's coaching the Broncos? Kevin Walters, isn't it? Feels a bit like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well. You're like such a legend of the sport in that area that it's really hard to sack them. It's really hard to get out of that if it stops working. And at the moment, the last 2 weeks, because I mean they did win in week 1, didn't they? I can't remember who they beat, but they had a good win. But since then, rather ugly. In particular, these last 2 weeks where they've lost a couple of games without ever really feeling like they've fired a punch, thrown a punch. You don't really fire punches, do you? It doesn't look great for them. And I like I said, I didn't watch all of that Warriors game against the Broncos, but I didn't see much from the Broncos to suggest a team that's going to turn things around or anything suddenly. And when the Warriors are able to kind of cruise to a win against you, that's not a great look, because the Warriors are normally the team on the other end of that kind of thing, at least in recent times as well. So I don't know what's going on there with the Broncos, but as I say, I can strike a few comparisons, and I do think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Kivy Walters one is maybe one that I'm going to struggle to look past for the next wee while.
So about the Broncos, similar to Manchester United, glory club, in comes some rich dudes, buys Manchester City. Now Manchester City is the glory club. I think there's a bit of that happening in Southeast Queensland as well, because I've written about, there is a lot of rugby league stuff happening in Southeast Queensland. I look at it through the Kiwi NRL lens, and it is just, things are popping off. Every Aotearoa kid is going to Southeast Queensland, it feels like to go to the Titans, to go to the Broncos, just to go to school, like whatever it is. Like it's just a region that's popping off. The Titans they continue to have aspirations of doing more. The Cowboys are the last Queensland team to win a premiership, I think, with their victory in 2015. Now you've got a Redcliffe team coming in. So there's a lot of, I think the collection of everything else in Queensland is Manchester City, to the Manchester United Broncos in this example, to the Tigers.
And Liverpool, Melbourne Storm as well. Similar region, similar. Storm are drawing from a lot of Queensland players coming up as well. Just another powerhouse thing that's outside the main sort of London / New South Wales powerhouse as well.
It's too much for my brain to process.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to make it a cleaner fit than it is, but
just keep it to one. We'll keep it to one. Tigers. I can't bring myself to really get into what's wrong with the Tigers because our illustrious Aotearoa Kiwis coach Michael Maguire is the head honcho. So I'm kind of playing naivety here, and I continue to want to because Aotearoa Kiwis footy in 2022 is lit, as the young folks say. It is fucking bonkers. There are so many good players. Like the World Cup forward pack we're thinking about is Brandon Smith, Fisher Harris, Jesse Bromwich, Asafa Solomona, Wairea Hargraves, Joseph Tapine, like let alone any of the young dudes coming through. You might have a Braden Hamlin-Ueli in there. You might have Isaiah Papali'i, Britton Nakora, Kenny Bromwich. You might have a starting halves combination of Jerome Hughes and Dylan Brown. You know, like Sean Johnson and Kieran Foran might not even be in the best halves. There was a game you had Morgan Harper versus Matthew Tomoko. Two dudes from Aotearoa starting center with a little battle. Like the talent is ridiculous. And when we last saw the Kiwis with Michael Maguire in 2019, things were humming along. They were playing Kiwis footy in Christchurch. Like they played a series against Great Britain. They had a win against Tonga. Like there were competitive games against Australia. And I think, of course, they are the least seen team of the pandemic. The All Whites have now played far more games than the Kiwis in this period. We have not seen Aotearoa play international men's rugby league since 2019. So I forgive a lot of people for not really tapping into it. But I am incredibly optimistic about what could happen this year with Michael Maguire. And that leads me to like, okay, I can't explore what's wrong with the Tigers. I can't bring myself to do it because there are bigger things with Aotearoa Kiwis here with Michael Maguire. As far as the Warriors go playing footy, I really think the best way to view it is through that strip back lens of just the forward pack won a game of rugby league. There just wasn't much else happening. I think even Reece Walsh is like, he just doesn't. The thing about Reece Walsh is that the way he runs the footy is fantastic. He's so fast. He's so dynamic. Like he kind of leaps into his first few steps, and those first few steps are like he's propelled out of a rocket, similar to Pappenhausen in that effect. But he's not, I don't think the crispness that we saw of his kind of early career form last season is there right now, which is to be forgiven when he's playing what was it, the fourth different halves combination. So
4 from 4, yeah.
Yeah, I can forgive Reece Walsh for not being as crisp as he might want to be, or as he can be when he's dealing with the fourth straight halves combination that that the Warriors have rolled out. But when you've got a forward pack that can defeat the other team's forward pack, you're going to be all good. And Vanua Blake is still exceptional. Like just seeing him kind of wiggle through a defensive line and just take it straight up the guts. And then you've got all these other players. Matt Lodge is all good. All the other pieces kind of play the role. You might quiet game from Josh Curran. But there's just a lot happening. And then suddenly Iliasa Katoa comes on the bench in the second half, and he's just like ravaging through defensive lines as only he can and ripping in defensively. So I think it's just definitely don't read too much more into it than a Warriors forward pack defeated the Broncos forward pack. And that was, I don't know where the bad vibes started for the Broncos, but you certainly don't get from like icky vibe to holy shit, what are we doing here? You're fantastic vibe. You don't get there by losing the forward pack battle. that's a what are you? Bit of a wartime strategy. Blow up a couple bridges. If you want to blow up a bridge to the other team's momentum, you just beat up their forward pack. And I was thinking about that watching the Storm wildcard, because don't think I've ever seen like Jesse Bromwich and Asafa Solomona dominated. And it's happening now without all these other illustrious forwards they've had and all these illustrious players that have come through the Storm over the years. And it's happened as long as Bromwich has been in the NRL. Obviously, Asafa Solomona came a bit later as well. Shout out to Kenny Bromwich, good skill on the left edge, fantastic player throughout the Storm dynasty. But the Storm don't get monstered. And obviously the Panthers are the best team right now. They don't get monstered. The Sharks, another great team right now, they don't get monstered. These are the teams monstering their opposition forward packs. And we tasted that with two bottom 8 teams, the Warriors forward pack defeating the Broncos forward pack.